Evening, everyone. I would request our President Tanvi Shetty to call the meeting to order.
Meeting call to order.
Thank you. Our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it. A very pleasant evening to one and all. Myself, Protractor Jannavi Gite. On behalf of our club, I welcome one and all present today. Today, on the occasion of Anti Terrorism Day, we have a living inspiration to the young ones and the young ones, Brigadier Anil Garg. We all welcome you, sir. Now, I would request our president to address the meet.
Thanks, Janvi. So, firstly, good evening to everyone. So, we are here on the occasion of World Anti Terrorism Day today. I feel that today we are pleased and honored that we are going to hear and get to know the life of an important part of the society, our soldiers. So thank you, Brigadier A.K. Garg Sir, for giving us your time. And I'm sure today we all are going to learn many things because of you. So without wasting any further time, I request our Rotractor Janvi to start the event.
Thank you, Tanvi. I know we all are very excited to know more about our guest of honor. I request my friend Rotractor Jnaneshwari Bhoge to introduce today's guest. Jnaneshwari, please.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I, Road Tractor Nyaneshwari Bhoge, would like to introduce you all to our today's guest, Brigadier Anil Garg. He holds a degree in Master of Philosophy and he was the Artillery Brigade Commander. He was Artillery Brigade Commander of Strike Off and Sub Area Commander in the sensitive Siliguri corridor as well. As a Deputy Inspector General VSF, he apprehended 16 militants in Tripura in 2010. He was involved in various operations against the militants at Hazaribagh, Jharkhand. He has been the director of Pravra Rural Education Society. In 1989, he represented our nation as an UN observer in Angola and has been awarded with the UN Peace Medal. Finally, he settled down at Devlali and joined the Rotary Club in 2013, where he has been awarded as the best secretary and president. Besides of all this, he is a keen golfer, sportsman, and an avid reader. He has recently authored a book titled Revelations of Honor Trysts with the Courage and is presently devoting his time for various social and welfare activities. Thank you. Over to you, Rotractor Janvi Geete.
Thank you so much, Jnaneshwari, for this wonderful introduction. Now let us move to the main event. I will request our Secretary and Vice President-elect, Rotractor Raghav Pagar, to take the charge. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. This is Rotractor Raghav Pagar, Serving Secretary of Rotract Club of Nashik Smart City. I request Anil sir to please switch on his camera. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. Am I audible to you?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay.
Sir, so all the introduction that has been given to everyone. So let's start with what is the main motive that we have gathered here for. So my first question to you is, could you please share your experience of 40 years in the armed forces, different armed forces that you have been part of?
At the outset, let me thank Ganeshwari for the kind words she has spoken about me. And I'd like to compliment the President, Tanvi, and the Secretary Raghav, who have made tremendous efforts to get us together on this platform today evening to share our thoughts and to know more about terrorism. Well, before I take on your questions, I'd just like to briefly mention as to why we are here celebrating this Anti Terrorism Day. Maybe a large number of you are already aware. Just to remind you, this was a day on 21st of May 1987 when our Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, he was assassinated by one of the LTT cadre near a place in Tamil Nadu when he was going for a rally. Specific place name is Sri Perambudur. And along with him, nearly another 18 people and 35 people, 18 people are killed and 35 injured. So in the memory of our late Prime Minister, we observe this Anti-Terrorism Day. And this is the day when all the men in uniform take a vow to counter terrorism. When we say counter terrorism, there are 4 P's to be remembered. Firstly, pursue terrorists to stop them, to play with the evil designs, prevent people not taking to arms or following the terrorism cadre, protect the people against terrorism, and finally to prepare to mitigate the impact of terrorism. So these are 4 P's. I remember when I was in Hazaribagh as a DIG, we used to take an oath. There used to be a parade, and we used to felicitate the people who would have excelled in some of the counter-terrorism or militancy operations. Right. So now, should I proceed with the question which has been specifically posed on to me? That is, how did I pass the 40 years in uniform? To be precise, I have nearly spent 48 years in uniform, including 4 years in Senate school, 4 years in the academy prior to joining the army or the BSF. So it's been a long journey. And let me tell you, it's been a wonderful experience. Those were the days when there was no class 12. We used to study till class 11, then join the college. So after 11, I was qualified to join this BITS Pilani. I was through to join a medical college, and I was through to join the NDA. Well, because nobody from the family had joined the career in the uniform, so I opted for the third option. And I dare say it's been a wonderful choice, because the sort of exposure which one has got over these 40 years is really very, very thrilling, enchanting, and I've really lived a dream life. Now, this is a life where one got an exposure. Incidentally, I'm from artillery. As a gunner, I was trained to be a surveyor also, where I surveyed various gun positions in starting from Punch down to Rajouri to what you call Nagrota. And then I had a stint in the aviation sector for 5-6 years. I was a pilot. Then I went on to become a gunnery instructor. Then, of course, we have staff appointments. So you coordinate various things as a lieutenant colonel, as a colonel. And thereafter, I had a privilege to command a unit in a hot, sensitive belt of Tangdhar sector, which is west of Kupwara in J&K. As a major also, of course, I was operating somewhere close to Uri sector, and as also in the northeast. Then, of course, the life goes on. As a brigadier, I was somewhere in Punjab sector. And then as a sub-area commander, I was in the sensitive Siliguri corridor. Once again, right from Malda up to, touching the west of Assam. That was my area of responsibility, stretching on up to base hills of Gangtok. So it's a wonderful experience I've had. I'll continue with this sort of a dialogue, otherwise it will become one-side story. So Raghav, please pose on the next question.
Absolutely, sir. Just a number, sir, but how many missions have you attended or been a part of in your 48th journey?
Well, it's really difficult to count the number of missions, because every day in a soldier's life is a different day.
Yes.
Frankly speaking, when you are in an operational area, you're not very sure whether you will come back to sleep in your bed or in your bunk. So every day is a challenge. Every day is new experience. and one doesn't know what lies ahead. And frankly speaking, when you're in an operational area, suddenly a call will come and you get cracking with your team, whatever are the resources at your back and call, and you just jump into the operations. Of course, there are certain planned operations which are also undertaken, but the life is like that in the uniform. Yeah.
Uh, that was pretty good to know, sir. Uh, how was your experience when you were serving in the BSF, that is Boundary Security Force?
Yeah, border security force, you see, initially, I served only for 4 years after finishing 36 years in the army. So I was initially posted to Agartala, and I had 4 BSF battalions. Each BSF battalion has got nearly 1,000 troops. So imagine you're commanding a force of nearly 4,500, 5,000 troops. 2 battalions were to the east, 2 battalions to the west. And Tripura, as you know, the geographical this thing,
Yes.
it is a wedge into Bangladesh. So yeah, this thing. So on the west, of course, there was a problem of the infiltration. On the east, it was a hilly area, and that is a place where the insurgents used to sneak in, and there was no border fencing along the eastern sector. So, incidentally, out of the 44 posts which I had under the command, 20 posts you could either visit by helicopter, or you have to walk 10 to 20 kilometers. You may be wading through nalas to reach the post to meet the men. So that was the living conditions in that particular area. As also, I'll just like to narrate 2 small incidents. Once I was going, so suddenly we heard some firing. Unfortunately, those people opened fire when they were at a little longer distance, so it was not effective fire. So we rushed. When they saw a large force rushing onto them, they melted into the jungles. And of course, thereafter the Bangladesh territory started, so we did not go into their area. Yet another incident I remember, I was going for an inspection of a post. Just 2 hours before the inspection, they know that some senior officers coming because they can make out the signs, people are active, doing up the thing and, preparing the post for inspection of a senior officer. So they fired at one of the portion of the post. Unfortunately for them, it was a cook house. So of course the people didn't have the breakfast that morning. But then again, we had to relocate the post so that from the dominating height where they fired upon, they don't get a chance to engage that post. And of course, once when I was returning, the driver noticed that, look, there is some fresh excavation on the road. Over there, the roads are not tarmac. So then we stopped the vehicle. He being an experienced guy, of course, the team people got down with the mine detector and all. There was a wire going across, and of course, if we would have gone, we would have blown a mine or ID, what you call it. Well, I'm lucky I'm in front of you, so that's how the life goes on.
Absolutely, sir. Uh, by the data that I have received from your end, I have noticed that you have been part of the UN as well. So, and you have earned a peace medal there as well. So, could you please share your experience and the reason why you could gain the peace medal?
Okay, Raghav. What happened? Way back in 1989, I was selected. I was a major then.
Yeah.
So this was the first mission, UN mission to Angola. Now, just to give a little background, Angola is a country which was ruled by the Portuguese from 1576 till 1976. Then like the Britishers left, the Portuguese just, when they were unable to control the situation, because there was resentment against the government and all those things. So they just ran away from the country, and the country was in shambles. So they had some sort of a government, but it was a weak government. They wanted to follow the Cuban model. But being a weak government, the South African forces, they tried to capture the Angolan territory, and they came right up to 60 kilometers of the capital city, which is Luanda.
Yeah.
That is the time when the Cuban forces came in, and now as part of the UN mandate, it was decided that these forces need to be disengaged. And that is where our role as UN peacekeepers came to disengage the two forces. Now, let me just share two small stories of my this
Yeah.
thing. We are the first ones to land there. We didn't even have blue berets. You know, the UN peacekeepers, they put on the blue beret and they have the UN emblem. But as
Yes.
we are just new, we just flown from Delhi straight into Angola. Uh, and from the ships and the aircraft, we got the new cars unloaded and things like that. So when I was taking the car to our headquarters, driving the car, suddenly three bullets crossed through the car from different angles, just like, you know, trisection of a triangle,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
and I was sitting in the center.
Oh
My
God.
good luck, nothing happened. But then the next day, our chief military observer, he came on the TV. Look, the guys who are in the blue beret and who have that UN sign painted on the vehicle. So overnight, all the vehicles were painted with a big UN sign, and we are flying that blue flag and all those things. So that is the first incident. Next is, I'm a keen photographer. So from our camp, I was just going for an evening walk. I was in a civil dress, not in uniform. So just trying to click some photographs and all that. Suddenly the four soldiers, their AK-47 pointing at me. I said, what the hell? What? Now, there's a language problem. Either people there know Portuguese or French, no English, no,
Yes.
could not communicate also with them. So what happened? I said, look, I'm exposing the role. I've got nothing to do. Later on, I came to know I was within 1 kilometer of the presidential palace, so they thought I'm a spy or something. So they were, and had I not played smart, probably that would have been end of Anil Garg that day itself. Anyway, the Indian officers, by virtue of their commitment, by the virtue of their hold over, English, we were the pillars of that mission, and we are really respected by the other officers from 10 different countries. And probably this was one of the reasons why I may have been chosen for the peace
Okay.
medal. Yeah.
Yes. So next question is, apart from what you have done in the armed forces, it is just an open question. Uh, why is terrorism taking the place of war in most parts of the world today?
Okay. That's a very good question. You see, for fighting a war, you require a well organized military or armed forces. The terrorist, it's a low option war, low cost option war. A person, basically, terrorist, is trying to terrorize the government. Now, you'll ask me, what exactly is terrorism? Terrorism is basically an act to terrorize the people and make the people or the government feel unsure or uncomfortable. So, firstly, it is a low cost option. Secondly, the people. Now you'll ask me, who are these terrorists? They're the people who are basically having a different sort of a psychology, different sort of what do you call philosophy or ideology. They may be from different religion and they feel that my religion is the best religion. Other religions, I need to counter them. As you may have read that at one point of time, Lebanon used to be uh, what do you call Christian society.
Yes.
Today, the Christians have been reduced to minority. The same goes to some of the countries in the European Union as well, where with the increase in population, they are demanding their rights. They are trying to dominate. So this is how the thing happens. And when the government disagrees with them, they try to indulge in acts of terrorism. So basically, it is a lack of employment opportunity to the youth, difference in their perception, then disparity in the income which a particular group may be earning, and a particular group, the battle between the have and have nots always goes on. So these are some of the reasons why terrorism is growing in the world. Yeah.
And again, just a part of that question, what, according to you, where did the global terrorism threat go during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, it may be naive to say कि the terrorism disappeared during pandemic. No, sir. The thing is, during this time, the movement of the people was restricted because
Yes.
the flights were not operating from one country to another country. But within the country itself, the terrorist acts were taking place. Let me tell you, in April 2019 itself,
Mhm.
in Afghanistan, there were more than 200 incidents in just 1 month. And then the other countries which are affected badly by terrorism are Egypt, Syria, France, Boko Haram, Palestine, Chad, and Nigeria. In the global terrorism index, Afghanistan, against a scale of 10, stands at 9.7, and India stands at 7.8. Nigeria is about 8.5 or so. So it will be incorrect to say that during pandemic, the terrorism had subsided. And as we go along further, the terrorism has taken a different form, which I'll come to, which I'll dilate a little later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, what are the grounds on which terrorism grew in the past decades?
Can you be a little louder, please? You're
Okay.
barely audible. Yeah. Be closer to the mic. Yeah.
Yes, sorry. What are the grounds on which terrorism grew in the past decades? One of being is religion. What are the other reasons?
Okay. Now, if you go into the background of terrorism,
Mhm.
frankly, it dates back to 1960s. How much? 1960. And if you go further back, come to think of it, the Britishers had termed Shahid Bhagat Singh also a terrorist. After all,
Yes.
today, if we say that somebody attacked our parliament, so those were the terrorists.
Yeah.
Now, when it was a British parliament, the Indians who tried to disagree with them and show, their resentment through the help of crude bombs, for us, they were martyrs, but for the British government, they were terrorists. So, like this, let me just give you a brief rundown. I have some statistics I'll just like to share with you. In the last 40, 50 years, there have been more than 12,000 incidents of terrorism. How much? 12,000. In which nearly 19,866 people have been killed and more than 30,000 people have been injured. And let me talk of the global terrorism first. As I mentioned, the major incident started way back in early 60s. So first, an US aircraft was hijacked by the Cubans to Havana. So let me caution here, some people should not get away with the impression that it is only the Muslims who are involved with terrorist activities. It could be from any religion. Okay. So here the Cubans who were against the US people, they hijacked their aircraft. Then it was in 1972 Munich Olympics that 11 of the Israeli athletes, they were killed by the Palestinians. All right. Then there was a 5 terrorists, they held hostages at the Rome airport way back in 73. Then if you recall, there's a place called Entebbe. Dada Idi Amin का नाम सुना होगा. And then there was a raid at Entebbe to free those hostages. There was a French airliner which had 278 passengers. They were held hostages by these terrorists. Okay, so these were some of the world incidents. Now let's come to the Indian scene. Way back in 1980, in a crowded market of Tripura, 500 people were killed. Just, bombs blew off and 500 people were missing. And 21st of May 1990, this Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated, as you know, where 30 people were killed and 25 injured. Then 91 was a period when terrorism was really at the peak, and it was spreading in various places across the country. Punjab, we had a major incident, nearly 350 people died. Again, in Kalyan train accident, Kalyan explosion in 91, Another 12 people were this thing. Then, of course, 2001, if you recall, 13th of December. That time I was posted in army headquarters. Suddenly we heard explosion out, and the parliament attack was on. So at that time, as a colonel, I was posted in army headquarters that time. Just a year later, we had a major attack on Akshardham, and we had a series of train bomb blasts again in Bombay in 2006, followed by a major attack on Taj, Trident Hotel, and another 3 places in Bombay. That was 26/11, as you all know. Then there has been a major attack where the security forces are ambushed in Manipur, where 176 people, soldiers were killed. But we retaliated with helicopters and all that by our special forces, and we killed 158 militants. Now, after this onwards, maybe we should give credit to present government, which is really hard hitting. We gave a befitting reply when this Manipur ambush took place. Again, when the Uri attack took place, Uri Brigade, where people in the early morning hours had come, and they killed 23 soldiers, and they themselves are suicide bombers. 8 of them, they also died. But then we retaliated by a surgical strike, and when 40 CRPF people were killed while traveling towards Srinagar, then of course we retaliated with an airstrike in Balakot. So to sum it up, we cannot say that the terrorism is decreasing or increasing, and the mode keeps changing. Sometimes it is at a religious place, sometimes in Indonesia or Bali, you are dancing happily in a club, and suddenly some terrorists come and they blow you off. Akshardham incident, you are in a club, mandir. When it happened in Sri Lanka, it was a church. So likewise, you are sitting in a train or in an aircraft. So it could be anywhere. So terrorists is basically wanting to target the civil population just to spread terror to achieve his aim. Yeah.
So looking what the COVID-19 did to the world, what do you think? Will the terrorism increase on the grounds of biological weaponism, or it will continue on the traditional weapons that are used until now?
Very interesting question. Yeah. You see, when the terrorism started, initially it was hijacking or holding some people hostages.
Yes.
Then they started targeting assembly of people. Now, of course, you must have read number of articles that probably this is a sort of biological warfare initiated by a country, and it has engulfed the whole war. Now, what prevents a terrorist? A group of terrorists goes into a public place. They are all as it is, they are suicide bombers. Now they are infested with COVID-19 virus, the deadliest version, let's say, whatever, the mutant versions are coming up, where it spreads very fast. So now so many people will get affected. After all, with a bomb also is killing 40 people, and with the virus also is the same. Similarly, these terrorists, they can use some of the chemical weapons also. They can also use these viruses to contaminate a particular water body. So once you drink that water, probably the complete town may get affected because they have drunk a polluted water. And taking a step further, there are only a few countries which have the nuclear weapons.
Yes.
And there are certain weak countries, I'll not name them, where if the government fails to control, these terrorists can have control over these nuclear weapons. Now, that is a very, deadly scenario where these people, if they have a control over nuclear weapons, what hell they can play to the world. Well, it is unimaginable. So these are the various forms. This is one part. Now, another interesting part which is coming is now most of the terrorists who are the educated people, but they're psychologically, they have been groomed in a particular manner to defy the government. So that they are the people who are the hackers, who are playing the cyber warfare. So that is the most dangerous, another dangerous form where to build up funds. Well, there is a US company which had to pay $5 million because the company the site was hacked. Unless they pay the ransom, $5 million to get the site back operational. So these are the sort of money these people could be demanding. Yeah.
So, war on terrorism, is that the only solution left right now? Or are there any ways that we can
Pardon?
counter terror? War on terrorism, is it the only solution left?
War on terrorism. Yeah, it is an ongoing war. Like you say, you see, when the society emerges, there are good people, there are bad people. In the Christianity, there is a God and there is a Satan. Similarly, हमारे यहाँ पे देवता होते हैं, राक्षस होते हैं. So I would say there are good people in the society and there are not so good people in the society who are always on the destructive path, who are misguided youth. Their brains have been brainwashed to oppose the government or cause pandemonium or hurt the people. So those are the people, unless they are treated psychologically and brought back into the mainstream, this sort of thing will continue. And why this thing happens to some people? Probably they have been wronged. You see, if say security forces have killed my father, so now in that family yet another terrorist is born, because he will start viewing no, these security forces, I have to target them. उन्होंने मेरे को मारा, मैं उनका 100 को मारूंगा अभी. ठीक है? So that sort of hatred develops.
Yeah.
Or a particular community or religion has offended you as a minority or suppressed you as a minority. So again, the hatred is there. So they want to sort out as and when they become powerful and join a particular organization.
Okay.
And powerful organization like ISIS, they are looking forward to such youth who have the potential to become big terrorists.
Yes. Okay. So moving on to my next question. Is Kashmir the main issue between India and Pakistan, and what is the ideal solution for the same?
You're asking the wrong man. This problem has not been sorted out by our politicians since 1947.
Yes.
And within 2 months of our partition, we had a war where these Kabilis came in. So we had a war in 47, 48, we had a war in 65, we had a war in 71, we had the Kargil war.
Yeah.
And when I was posted in Tangdar sector, हमारे लिए तो रोजाना एक दिवाली होती थी, because there was firing from that side and we used to fire back. So you see, the Kashmir issue is like they are claiming that Kashmir is because it is Muslim dominated. So this is part of Pakistan. And some of the youth there also have been misguided. Look, you have more affinity towards us because we are Muslim, you are Muslim. So we are brothers, we'll be able to take better care of you.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, no comments. So please don't quote me. Tomorrow, Brigadier Garg was telling, and tomorrow it comes in the media.
No.
The state government has not handled the local population, the youth. The development has not taken place, though the center gave so much of funds for the development.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, like Rajiv Gandhi used to say, that 16 paisa only goes for the development. In Kashmir, only 3 paisa used to go out of the 100 paisa, only 3 paisa used to go towards the development. Rest of the money, where it goes, nobody knows. Okay. So till the time we have better education, better employment opportunity, let's hope with this Article 370 being scrapped, probably if the present government is able to bring the youth into the mainstream by giving them better education, better employment opportunities, and changing the demography of the state, things will improve. But till the time, like today, you have a house. Let me give a mundane example, which is say 500 square yards.
Yeah.
Somebody says कि नहीं इसमें से 500 गज 50 गज तो मेरा है. Will you give that 50 yards to him happily?
No,
There
absolutely
will always
not.
be a confrontation between you and the other person who is trying to claim your house.
Yes.
Okay, so it is something like that. We feel that it is our territory because Raja Hari Singh signed that document of accession to India.
Yeah.
While Pakistan says, no, there was no such document. Well, that is their view, their perception. So that's why this problem continues.
Okay. Just a question. Apart from violence, what other avenues that can be considered as an act of terrorism?
I think I've made a passing reference. The various types of acts of terrorism. Kidnapping is one, hijacking is one, and holding hostages to extort money. Then, holding hostages with the aim to get their colleagues released, like what happened when this flight took off from Nepal, and after refueling at Amritsar, when landed at Kandahar. What was the basic aim? They wanted their boss, who was in the Indian prison, to be released. So these are some of the acts and cybercrime which I just mentioned, and of course the economic this thing,
Yes.
where they may like to harm you by debiting certain amounts by hacking your accounts. So they are getting easy money to fund their cause.
Yes.
So these are the ways, the modern way terrorism is taking place.
I know you have answered this, answered the particular question that I'm about to ask you. But again, how to explain the nature of terrorism?
Explain the nature of terrorism. You see, terrorism is basically, as I mentioned, that it is a difference in perception or ideology of the people. Now, there are two words which get to merge with each other: militancy and terrorism. Now, terrorism can be done by the people who are sitting outside your country. People are sitting in Syria, people are sitting in Afghanistan, but they are troubling the people sitting in USA, like what happened in 9/11.
Yes.
The Osama bin Laden was where was he sitting? He was not sitting in states.
Yes.
So he is controlling the operations all over.
Yes.
But when it comes to militancy is by the people who are the basically sons of soil of that area. What you see in the northeast, or
Yes.
whatever you see in the Jharkhand area, Chhattisgarh area, there those people have been denied the progress which the other countrymen are making simultaneously in the same time. How much has been the growth in 40 years in Maharashtra vis-a-vis in Chhattisgarh area? So obviously, if their lifestyle or education or healthcare system are literally walk to these areas, people don't have close to wear. People walk 18 kilometers just to walk up to a primary school. There are no doctors available. There are no medicines available. This was the plight of people in Hazaribagh, which I am talking with personal experience.
Yes.
So obviously they feel aggrieved, and they say, okay, incidentally, Bihar and Jharkhand, they are rich belt, mineral belt. कहाँ से जा रहा सारा? वहां से कोयला कहाँ से जा रहा है? आयरन और किधर जा रहा है? Even there is a सोनार नदी, गोल्ड भी जाता था वहां से. Aluminum is there from Jharkhand, but over there is no signs of prosperity. Obviously, these people feel that, look, our resources are being exploited and we are not getting any share out of it. They feel aggrieved, and that's why this militancy starts on. So, and some of the outside organizations, then they try to fund these organizations so that they get arms, or they get the support, or they get training, and they are able to fight the security force. So one is that militancy is against the security forces or the government organization, and terrorism is against the general public. Their aim is to basically dahshat phailana.
Yeah. What are the different life lessons that you have got from Indian Army?
Well, I think if I can say it in one line, they made a man out of me.
Absolutely, sir.
Because you see, you join as a youngster over there who has no orientation, frankly speaking.
Yes.
And within those 3-4 years of basic training, you are armed with so many skills. Then you get so much of time to, so much of opportunity to grow by doing so many professional courses. And of course, government is spending on you. But what I have realized that the motto of NDA, service before self. After all, I'm here to serve the nation. Before I serve myself, or I have to serve the nation. Then I have to serve the Jawans. Then I have to serve myself.
Yes.
And it is quite similar to the Rotarian motto, where
Yes.
it is service above
Above
self.
self. Yes.
So close to each other. Now, this is the organization which teaches you, okay, if you set a goal, you can definitely achieve that particular goal. And we also realize that unless we have a wonderful team around you, no mission can be accomplished. So you develop a team, you groom them, you train them hard. There is a strong bonding. So as you become a very good team manager. And of course, to do all these things, you require dedication, you require discipline, you have to learn the art of time management, you have to learn the art of leading from the front, and of course, learn to be contented man with whatever resources you have. So these are some of the lessons which I draw from the army life. It's a beautiful organization. Unfortunately, today, pardon my making this statement. Majority of the youth कि भाई मेरे को एक एयर कंडीशन ऑफिस मिल जाए, शाम को मेरे को बीबी के हाथ की बनी बड़ी बढ़िया गरम गरम खाना मिल जाए, and I should have comfortable bed to sleep in. I should have a fairly good amount of money. So unless you're prepared to face challenges,
Yes.
where you have at times we have slept in bunkers, we have slept under the rain, we have been the book which I mentioned, those are the life stories which I have penned down a few.
Yes.
Some of you who are keen can order that book through Amazon and get the
Absolutely, sir.
peep into the army life. Yeah.
Absolutely. You just answered the question, but again, a few inspiring words for the next generation that you would love to give.
Firstly, I'm so pleased to see, not only because right now my eyes are focused on friend Raghav only, but I know there may be 40, 50 of your friends who may be listening to me. I'm so happy that you people have resolved to become Rotaract and learn the ropes to develop yourself further in life. Because unless you develop your own personal set of skills, your own personal values, you cannot proceed further in life. Today, why anybody respects Tata as an organization? Because this is one organization where right from the boss to the lowest employee, they put their values before anything else. I hope you know that Ratan Tata, after the 26/11, a person who had joined Tata organization just for 1 week and who had been killed or injured, he says, look, he's my employee till the time he gets back outside the hospital, I will continue to give his salary.
Yes.
How many such masters will care for the employee? So this is one. Second thing is, एक गाना था, अपने लिए जिए तो क्या जिए, ए दिल तू जी जमाने के लिए. So if you're just living the life for yourself, well, you will get all the goodies for life. But will the people really remember you?
Exactly.
Only those people who are remembered who do something over and above to help out others. So if that attitude of helping others is there, well, you are the right person. Then word of this thing to for growth, let me tell you, there are opportunities galore in this world. Everybody can't become a doctor. Everybody cannot become an IAS officer or an engineer, and likewise. Whatever is your field of choosing, where it gives you immense pleasure, you may become a singer. Tendulkar never studied too hard. With class, he and Dhoni, class 10, class 12 pass hai, but they became world-class cricketers and whole world knows them. Arundhati Roy, you heard the name?
Yes.
she was the one who was thrown out of the train, who
Yes.
lost her legs. I happened to hear her when I went to Nagpur for a seminar, Rotary
Rotary.
seminar.
Yes.
And she has climbed the highest peaks, not only Mount Everest, highest peaks in all the continents.
Yes.
So where you have a determination, where you want to achieve a particular goal, sky is the limit.
Absolutely.
And of course, once you have a particular goal, the resources will naturally converge towards you. I assure you, once you have an aim, the other people will always come with a helping hand. If your goal or the cause for which you are doing a particular thing is genuine and you are generally involved. So there's no end to it. I don't want to make it more of a moral lecture because then I'll be digressing from the subject. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I have done with my questions for you. I would request our MOC, that is Rotractor Janvi, to please open the session for question answer.
Okay, now we will have a 10-minute session, a Q&A session. So those who have questions will raise their hand. I guess Suresh is having a question.
Yes.
Please.
Let's honor the time also. It was decided that we'll spend 1 hour before it becomes boring.
Hello, sir. I am Rotractor Suresh Soundankar. I want to ask you one question related to Israel and Palestine issue. And adding to that, does Arabs having the oil fields and they have the power to control the world's energy, does that makes more difficult?
No, difficult for whom?
For the Western world to support Israel over the Hamas or Palestine.
Well, if you go back to the history, how Israel was born, you know, Jews community, they are one of the very hard-working community. They are the people who have the brains to make money, just like apna Gujarati bhai hota hai na. So they are the ones who have proved to be excellent scientists or innovators, right? So when after the Second World War, they had no place to go, they created Israel, and for their survival, they created this as a nation. And Israel today survives, though surrounded by all the nations which are more of Muslim dominated. But the fact remains, the will to survive is there in the Israelis, and there are a lot of Israelis, Jews who are in the business community in the US, so they get an inherent support. Like today, people who are in Punjab, there are a lot of people who are doing well in US, Canada, or UK. So they will give them the financial support or the moral support. So from the West, this support will always be forthcoming, and the support is in the form that yes, they have to survive as a nation, and they have made themselves strong enough. Now they are capable of this thing. They have the most modern technology available. Their UAVs with their weapon system. You must have seen in the missiles being this thing, and a large number of army equipment also. Incidentally, I was director of procurement also, so I got these UAVs and all from the Israel during my tenure. So they have advanced technology, and it is not the fight for oil only. Incidentally, let me tell you, because I've been a student of economics also, when I did my course at IIPA, Indian Institute of Public Administration. So there we are exposed to these things also. The US has got adequate reserve of oil, and with the world going towards more usage of solar energy and this electric car coming up, the oil as a weapon which has been used since 1973 may no longer wield that sort of power which is being wielded till now in the world.
Okay.
So I think it is a battle for the survival of Israel, which they are fighting, and they're fighting valiantly.
So OPEC will no longer have that power to support Hamas or to support the Palestinians, like they.
Frankly speaking, it's a question of time, as it is, with leaning towards less consumption of, less dependence on oil energy, the hold of OPEC, to my mind, will diminish in the years to come. This will change the equation.
Yes. Thank you.
I hope, Suyash, that answers your question. Next, I will request Tanvi to please go ahead with your question. Before that, Tanvi, just a second. If anybody has any questions, please do write them down in the chat box or on the WhatsApp group that we have created, or you can just raise your hands and we will give you a chance. Thank you. Tanvi, you can go ahead.
Yes. So this is not my question. One of our friends from audience, he has asked me to ask you this question. So he asks that what tactics failed during the war of 1962.
Can you please repeat the question? It was partially audible.
Yes, yes. So he asked what tactics failed during the war of 1962.
What tactics?
Yes.
You see, there are two words. One is a strategy, one is tactics. Strategy is at a national level, and tactics is at a much lower level. So I would say that we as a nation had failed strategically. Why I say this? Till 1959, 1960, we are saying Hindu Chini Bhai Bhai. When the army chief drew the attention, look, we don't have adequate resources, we are not adequately equipped, we don't have the weapon system, we don't have the aircraft, we don't have the uniform for the men, they are poorly trained to fight in the mountainous terrain. And as a part of threat perception, either the threat will be from the west or from the north. Okay, because we are not, Bangladesh that time was East Pakistan, that was surrounded by us. So that was not so much. So the fact remains that despite all these warnings, the politicians ignored the advice, and as a result, we had to face the onslaught by the Chinese PLA. And we are not really equipped to fight in that sort of a terrain.
Yes. So I hope, Tanvi, that answers your question. Moving forward, Janvi, you can please ask your question.
Yes. So first of all, I would love to tell you that I am preparing for AFCAT, and we have a group in our college who all of us are preparing for CDS and AFCAT and NDA, and we all have many questions. I can take another interview, but respecting time. First of all, I would love to ask you that when it comes to terrorism, we have all heard this word brainwash. So people with zero terrorist background just come into terrorism when they are like even for like of the age 14 and 15. How can we stop this, sir?
You see, what happens, like when I was a commanding officer in Tangdhar sector, I happened to walk into one of the schools and I picked up the geography book. So in the geography book, I saw a map where the map was showing Pakistan extending, enclosing complete Jammu and Kashmir. So now if a child is being taught right from his childhood, look, India has occupied our area and we have to liberate ourselves from the Indians or the Indian, of course, army is there to help the Indian government, basically. We have not gone at their own will. Even I would like to sit comfortably in Devlali. Okay. But then to defend our nation or to execute a particular task, you are there and facing all these people. So right from the beginning, their mind has been polluted that, look, Kashmir belongs to Pakistan. These people have occupied this. That's why it is called occupied Kashmir, as far as they are concerned. Just to give you again a mundane example, sorry, just a minute. Sorry, it went off. So, like when you are a small child and your mother or father keeps saying, you beware of this uncle, ये हमारा जो property है ना, ये ले लेंगे. So the seed of hatred is being, sown right in your that young mind from your childhood. You will not start liking that uncle because your father or mother has said, they are always eyeing at our house or at our property, so don't trust them much. So it is something like that. So they are the misguided youth. Now, unless there's an organization to put the things in the correct perspective, which is now being attempted, isn't it? So that's how it will slowly and slowly, it is a Herculean task. Like let's be in the recent past, 3 months back, there was a campaign, oh no, ye India wala jo vaccine hai, it is dangerous, it is untested, don't take it. So when the vaccine was opened, half the people, including the frontline warriors, they were not reluctant to take it because a wrong information was fed in their mind. And now everybody is lining up, unko vaccine nahi mil raha hai ki nahi? So it is something like that. So this perception has to be corrected. Okay.
So also I
No
would
religion
like,
is bad. No religion
yes,
is bad. It is just that some people who want to use the power of religion to become more powerful themselves. That is how they try to, subdue other people or other communities. And for that, they have to create a cadre, and they have their own, ways and means, or to tutor them or to brainwash them. Yeah.
So I hope,
Frankly speaking,
yes,
let me just, one more thought came to my mind.
yes.
Look, when I was being trained as a cadet in NDA, why am I prepared to take on the challenges? Because I've been trained. Look, your basic job is to defend your nation, come what may. So I've been groomed, I've been brainwashed, I would say, in a positive manner. Okay. But in their case, they have brainwashed them in a negative manner. Yeah. Please go ahead.
I hope, Janvi, this satisfies your question. Moving
definitely.
moving forward, our fellow ZRR Nishiganda ma'am has asked a question, sir. What is the incident which is really memorable in such a way that you never ever forget it and learned a lot from it? In your throughout journey in armed forces.
Is it related to personal, what do you call, tragedy or something?
Nishiganda ma'am, if you could please unmute yourself. She's
Anyway,
joining,
there's
sir.
so many stories. One thing which often comes to my mind is, you see, I was one of my body of troops were responsible for opening the road opening party. So there are about 100, people. They'll start at 5:30 in the morning, as soon as it is, dawn setting in, and they will get about 2-3 hours to literally search, what do you call, with those mine detectors and all, to see that in the night these people have not put some ID or something. So I, as a commanding officer, had gone to see and meet these troops, see how they was doing the job and all those things. And they were doing very diligently. There had been no incident and all that. So I told them, look, don't be complacent. I have seen that you are having your break at a particular takery or a particular pahadi or a hillock only. Don't make it a habit to go on that hillock always, to have your break. Though that I was trying to justify, कि सर यहाँ से हमको, because we are an elevated ground, so we have a better observation even when we are having a break. I said, secondly, when you are searching for the IEDs, you are always keeping your heads down. What prevents the militants not to put an IED on the treetop and targeting you? And lo behold, after 10 days, when a convoy was passing, along that Kubwara Srinagar highway. So there was an ID planted on the tree top, and those shrapnels penetrated through the bus stop and injured quite a few Jawans. So one has to be prepared for these sort of contingency. And I, of course, in that area, my good luck, their bad luck. I was passing through. One vehicle was in front. I was in the center. Another vehicle with 10 Jawans was behind. They targeted my vehicle because if they kill a colonel, they will get a reward of 1 lakh or 2 lakh or whatever was the thing at that time. They missed by just 5 meters. And of course, the backside of the Jonga vehicle in was traveling was totally, blown off to bits. So that is a close escape I had in one of the thing. In yet another incident, it was 15th of August, 1994, I recall. I told the people that, look, tomorrow is Independence Day. These Pakis will definitely like to greet you, the Independence Day. Greet in the other way. And as soon as it was sun rays were, the sun has started coming up, 12 solar power rockets, they flew into Tangda sector. And luckily for us, it didn't miss any of the vital installations. There were no injuries except 1 or 2 civilians. They suffered minor the thing. But this is how the thing goes on in that area. Incidents are galore. The time is inadequate to cover all the incidents. Yeah.
Exactly, sir. I hope that satisfies the question asked by ZRR ma'am. Sir, we will be only taking 3 more questions coming from all the audiences that are present. One of which is being asked by a fellow attendee, Sarthak Patil. What would you say is the difference between an anti-national and a terrorist?
Okay. Anti-national can be a person who has got feelings against the government, but he is not violent by nature. Okay, you see, I can be writing against the government. Okay, whatever are the policies, I can express my views against the government policies. Well, I may be branded as anti-national, but I'm not violent in my approach. While a terrorist is invariably violent in his approach, and he's, the word terror is synonym to terrorist.
Absolutely. Next question is coming from a fellow retractor, Advocate Amit Hastekar. Is there any such policies will be framed by government of India to take back Aksai Chin by diplomatic way of the off by military operations?
There is a saying, "Jiski lathi uski bhais." Have you heard of this? So, unfortunately, in that time, India was not so powerful. So, Chinese claimed this territory. We could not claim it back because we are not powerful enough. So, yes, it is our territory, and it's a matter of time when we have a political leadership with a strong spine and the wherewithal in terms of military and the economic resources, where you'll say, okay, like some countries, they claim their territory. So probably we may also go in for not only Aksai Chin, we'd like to reclaim POK also. So
Absolutely, sir. Sir, we have two more questions that have just came in. Uh, what should be the India's stand against Myanmar coup as a neighbor nation? Asked by Mohan Borse.
you see, we as being a democracy, India has been a champion of democratic values. And after the military junta had allowed democratic setup in that country, it was a good gesture or good step in the right direction, and we are supporting that because dictatorship or finding a military means to find a political solution is never advisable. It is a short-term solution. So probably it's a matter of time when I would say probably a civil war may break out over there, where people, it may be a long drawn affair like Vietnam, it may be a long drawn affair, like it may develop into yet another insurgency where they will start troubling the military junta. Unfortunately, the local population don't have the weapons to support the militancy. But tomorrow, what prevents some of the soldiers, like who have run away from the soldiers or the police people with weapons, to join the insurgents and to fight against the military junta? I can't rule out that sort of scenario. So I think till the time the military junta, as promised, that they will hold yet another election after 1 year or so. If the democratic process goes on favorably, fine. Otherwise, it may be a long drawn battle, as per my perception.
Sir, we have one query from the participants. Meenal ma'am, if you could please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Question, please.
Yes.
Good
She has
evening, sir.
texted. Yes.
Hello, I'm audible.
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. I'm Meenal Dandekar. So, as Janvi said, we have a group in our college for SSB and CDS preparation. So, please give us some guidance tips for the preparation.
Good evening to you. I think your president can speak to me separately, and we can have yet another session. And there are people who are qualified to train people preparing for CDS exam, etc. I can give their reference, who will professionally guide the aspirants in a more cohesive manner and in a more productive manner. I think that may be a better approach. But yes, definitely in yet another session, I can help you out with whatever I can guide you with, give you the broad parameters. Definitely, I like the more people to be enthusiastic. We also want, as an organization, good people, spirited people joining the rank and file of the armed forces. We feel proud with the people who join the thing. And let me tell you, whenever anything takes place where other things fail, then it is the last resort, the armed forces which step in. May it be in the recent time, the corona also. Yeah.
Sir, next question is from again an attendee, Mr. Sarthak Patil. Have you or anyone you know ever sympathized with an terrorist or befriended them? How did it go?
It will be over my dead body. Why should I sympathize with the terrorist when I'm fighting against it?
Exactly.
But yes, in the valley, we try to motivate the youth. On the contrary, we used to go to the schools wherever possible and teach them good things. These things, we means if the people were giving them the negative vibes, we are trying to give them the positive vibe. And I am proud to say that our unit supported the education of two of the students who joined a Sunny school and subsequently joined an NDA also. So that was our contribution in that limited time I was there in the valley.
Thank you, sir. There is one last question. I'm so sorry. There are more questions flowing in right now. So if you could please share your contact details and they can get in touch with you. Before that, I would like to ask one last question. How much more authority does the Indian armed forces should have? How much the government should interfere with the decision making power of the forces? And should the armed forces be independent enough to make their own decisions?
Well, I think it's a very it's a question which needs a lot of great length of deliberation. Probably 2 minutes is not going to do justice to answer this particular question. In any organization to function, there has to be a faith or trust. Okay. Unfortunately, in the Nehru era, there was a little distrust. You look, if we are given too much of power to the armed forces, they may take over the country like what has happened in Pakistan. But Indian armed forces have proved otherwise. They have been very, very patriotic. They have been very loyal. And frankly speaking, in any organization, there has to be a little bit of autonomy. Like if your education department is constantly interfering with the principal of the school, कल ये पढ़ाना, परसों ये करना, 4 दिन के बाद ये करना, would the principal like it? You have you have to give freedom for a person. You give a task, how he does the task, leave it to him, because he's a professional. He's trained to do the task. So if you do it in that manner, that will be better. And lastly, I would say that anything has to be supported adequately economically. Unfortunately, our GDP, us being a developing country, we are unable to spend so much on the GDP. But in today's warfare, unless you have the modern weapon systems coming in, you then become a sitting duck, and you have to keep upgrading with the changing technology. So that sort of budgetary support is not there to the desired extent, and which causes a little bit of frustration. Let me tell you, if I show my uniform when I went to the UN mission, vis-a-vis what uniform the other countries' officers were wearing, I used to feel a little low down. Look here, I'm not looking so jazzy, so presentable. Fine, whatever it is, but with our work and with our dedication, we proved that yes, Indians are very reliable officers, very professional. That is a different story. But the presentation wise, it was not a very comfortable feel. As I said, 2 minutes is inadequate to take on this question. Probably we'll have a separate discussion. Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, is it okay if I share your Gmail ID so that people can?
Yeah, sure. WhatsApp number also you can share. You have the number.
Yes,
it
absolutely,
will be,
sir.
If I can be of any help to anybody, most welcome. It will be my pleasure.
Absolutely, sir. All the attendees, I have shared the Gmail ID as well as sir's number. If you have any other questions or any doubts or want to organize any other session, you can directly get in touch with him.
This was indeed a great evening. Thank you so much, sir, for answering all these questions. Now, I would request our President-elect, Rotractor Suyash Saudankar, to give a vote of thanks.
Thanks, Janvi. Honorable Brigadier Mr. Anil Garg Sir, our President of Rotary Club of Nashik Smart City, Ms. Tanvi Shete, our Secretary, Mr. Raghav Pagar, my all fellow Rotractors, all the attendees, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. On the behalf of Rotary Club Nashik Smart City, I want to thanks Brigadier Anil Garg Sir for not only giving this inspiring session, but serving our motherland for so much period of time. So we common people can really sleep peacefully because of brave hearts like you are in army. So thank you so much for the session, for your kind words, for your help and your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suresh. So now I request our president to call meeting to adjourn.
Before that, Tanvi,
Yes,
it is customary on this particular day, we all stand in silence to the people who have carried out operations and become martyrs in anti-terrorist operations. So may I request you to kindly request all others to kindly stand for 2 minutes in silence and thank those people for devoting their life and efforts. Yeah. This is customary on anti-terrorism.
Yes, sure, sir. I request everyone to stand in silence for 2 minutes for soldiers who have who have sacrificed their lives.
Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for coming. So by now, I call meeting to go adjourn. Also, I'll request our club members to stay. Others can leave.
Okay. So very nice to be with you all.
Thank
Bless
you
you
so much.
all.
Thank you, sir.
Bless you all and all the best for your tenure
Jain, sir.
ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir. Jai Hind.
Welcome. Welcome.
Yes, sir.
Jai
Thank you, sir.
Jai Hind.
Bye-bye.